Hello viewers and welcome to a brand new episode of Trashtalk on Heavy Gear 4th edition, a series where I talk about the various gears and vehicles you can pilot and drive around in the Heavy Gear universe. In this episode, I will be talking about the Peace River Gears and Striders, Part 2. Continuing off from the previous episode, at priority level 6, there's the Harrier. The Harrier is in a sense, the skirmisher, but even faster, thanks to its speed 10 and also having the hover secondary motive system. What hover does in Heavy Gear 4E is that you can basically ignore most difficult terrains and even hover across water surface. Unit that solely has hover system like hover tank to move could even cross massive gap on the ground as if they weren't there. Besides the speed and tactical mobility, Harrier has all the e-warfare capability of the skirmisher integrated into the chassis, making it a very powerful e-warfare platform, and on top of that, unlike the skirmisher, the Harrier can utilize energy weapons, and can also be upgraded with jetpack. I didn't explain it well enough last time, but basically, jetpack just lets you skip over terrain or reach the top of a terrain with ease, but the more heavily armored you are, the less distance you can reach. Also, it doesn't really say how does one use it in 4E here, but since it replaces your normal movement in Heavy Gear Blitz, I'm just gonna assume it works the same here. At priority level 7, there's the Hyena II and Shinobi. Let's start with the Shinobi first. The Shinobi, as its name implied, is a high-performance stealth gear, one that's probably more dangerous than any other stealth gear I have reviewed in the series thus far. It's fast but somewhat fragile with 5 armor, though with early warning system and stealth, it's still well protected. It's armed with light rocket pack, a knife, and either a silenced weapon, energy weapon, or something high caliber. Compared to the couple previous special force stealth gears I have talked about, the Shinobi is not lacking in options at all, and the scariest part is, this isn't even its final form. You can upgrade this already ridiculous gear with +2 e-warfare stat and advanced ECM suite to make it an excellent e-warfare platform, or upgrade it with Brawler 2 and a better knife to actually ambush a gear quietly, and there's also ECCM and satellite uplink upgrade to make sure the communication line is always up. This thing already has integrated comm suite, so even in its base form, it's a pretty damn good ride for a commander already. It is just ridiculous. The only bad thing about this is that you're gonna have a hard time finding spare parts for it. The Hyena II is a light tank strider. It could honestly look better than this. If you are wondering why it's called Tank Strider, it's because Peace River makes zero uses of tanks, or heavy infantry fighting vehicles, at all. Their ground forces basically consisted of gears, bigger gears, striders, a bunch of armored personnel transports, and this tiny thing, so instead of using a normal tank, they just make one capable of walking. Fun fact, the original Hyena got nuked along with its construction data. Rather than redesigning it from the ground up, Paxton just took another tank strider they just happened to have and modify it until it looks like the original and call it a day. If you are asking how they did it, I have no fucking clue. As a strider, the Hyena II is somewhat fast but also rather light on its armor. However, it is one of the few striders with a 0 piloting stat, meaning it can dodge bullets as good as a gear half its weight. It's also piloted by a single crew, but it is light enough in capability that it won't overwhelm its sole pilot. In its arms are either linked medium laser cannon for long-range attack or medium rotary lasers to cut things apart. It only has a single automatic machine gun for anti-infantry firepower. This machine gun also has the advanced trait, which is very confusing, because originally in Heavy Gear Blitz, advanced basically gives +1 damage, and it just does not work the same here, so a replacement with something else like Apex might be a good idea. It also has a medium rocket pack that has guided trait and AP2 instead of 1. Turning it into some kind of micro-missile launcher that's far more painful when an ally forward observes a target, which is what this thing is made for since it has the quick response system too, add-in stabilizer, and the Hyena II can really pour in accurate fire support for its allies, can also be upgraded with advanced ECM suite, just to make it more dangerous. At priority level 8, you get Agamemnon, Argos, Cataphract, and Coyote. The Agamemnon is a big gear with a big stick. Its speed is decent but it has 9 armor and field armor, enough to take hits like nothing else, and with gunnery stat of +1, it can fire its massive arsenal of weapons very accurately, which includes medium rocket pack, medium guided mortar, a torso-mounted medium frag cannon, and whatever big handheld it gets, including the practical heavy autocannon, heavy bazooka, and a light field gun. Just to make this thing even better at fire support, it also has a quick response system, and the guided mortar can be swapped out for anti-tank missile for anti-CEF hover tank duty. And as if they just found more space to cram things in, the cockpit also features a medical lab kit, just to keep the pilot safer. Argos is also another big gear, technically the Peace River equivalent of Kodiak and King Cobra, slower than Agamemnon but just as tough with field armor, has advanced control system on top of the +1 gunnery stat, and is intimidating as hell. But unlike the Agamemnon, the Argos is more close range, with Brawler 2 and a Reach 1 medium vibro blade to boost its melee capability, plus medium frag grenade, medium APGL, whatever shoulder-mounted weapon it gets, and either a heavy rotary, heavy bazooka, or medium snub cannon in its hand. It can also be upgraded for commander. And most interestingly, just to emphasize how much Paxton is geared towards fighting the CEF, the Argos has resistance against haywire. What this means is that against any weapons or effects that deal haywire effect, the Argos take 1 point less damage against them, with no minimum, meaning if the Argos get shot by a particle accelerator, the field armor can reduce the damage by 1 to a minimum of 1, then the resist trait can just cut that down to nothing, meaning the main weapon used by CEF hover tanks would basically work as well as a super soaker against the Argos most of the time. However, the resist trait merely reduces the damage, it doesn't do a thing against actually preventing the haywire effect, so a bunch of tanks can still send the Argos to stun lock hell. At least you will still be alive, I guess. And, here it comes, the Cataphract. You might have noticed that when I talk about the Argos, I said that it's technically the Peace River equivalent of Kodiak and King Cobra. I said technically, because it's not true. Even though the Argos is in the same weight class, Peace River considers the Cataphract to be the equivalent instead. The development cycle goes that during the first CEF invasion, Paxton Arms, when it was still called that, was analyzing the polar forces Kodiak and King Cobra and found them to be too specialized. Instead of just making a slightly even heavier gear like normal people to accommodate the need, Paxton Arms makes a gear that's 4.5 times heavier. This resulted in the first gear strider in history, at least according to North and South. Peace River just call this thing a gear despite its massive size. The Cataphract moves decently fast for a strider, and is quite well protected with 10 armor, 9 hull integrity, and a shield. In all its variants, it has linked automatic light machine gun, medium field mortar, and heavy frag grenade, because nothing said anti-infantry like hunking an explosive that can crush a young adult and then explode. The field mortar can also be switched out for a precise light anti-tank missile launcher. In its hands, for the base variant, is a medium railgun. A railgun is an extremely long-range weapon with 480 meters range designed to solely pierce armor. Its base damage is basically crap. What you are only looking for is the AP value, which lets you deal damage through armor depending on how much margin of success you get until a set limit. This also means that you don't want to just hit the target, but also roll enough dice through the threshold to actually deal a significant amount of damage. This damage number is also the same no matter the armor of the target, meaning at maximum precision, this railgun can two-shot a CEF hover tank, 3 for newer versions. But that's only for when the Cataphract is engaging enemy hover tank at range, because it also has an apex heavy vibroblade with extended reach, meaning this thing has 10 base damage with AP 5 in case the target has more than 10 goddamn armor. This thing is the size of a small car. It's probably designed to crumple an entire hover tank frame from sheer mass if the blade can't cut right through, and the Cataphract also has Brawler 2, making the sword incredibly dangerous. Other than that, it also uses a heavy rotary, heavy bazooka, medium tank cannon, and medium field gun. Tank cannon is basically what it sounds like, a massive cannon. It actually deals the same amount of damage as the field gun, but has a way longer range and only has armor piercing mode, and when compared to the railgun, it has less range, but can crumple light gear from sheer damage just fine. And to top everything off in Peace River fashion, the Cataphract also has ECM suite, and also has advanced control system. However, the Cataphract only has a single crew, the pilot, meaning you might lack the actions to utilize everything in this strider. The Coyote is another one of the Peace River's tank strider. This thing weighs almost 30 tons, how the hell did they shave off half of this thing to turn it into that? At 9 armor, the Coyote is tough but not as tough as actual tank. It makes up for this by having more off-road capability by being able to walk. Also this thing is actually light enough that it can be deployed from an aircraft. That's going to do wonder for its strategic mobility. For weapons, the Coyote has a turreted anti-air medium rotary cannon, medium anti-personnel grenade launcher for anti-infantry protection, and a turreted main gun which can include medium railgun, heavy rotary, medium anti-tank missile, and medium laser cannon, which might makes it look like it has less firepower than the Hyena II, which is far lighter, but the Coyote is one of the rare few strider with +1 in gunnery and stabilizer. That definitely makes up for it. Also, it has ECM suite and recon sensor, and with 2 crew on board, the driver can really wreak havoc on the opposition with hacks while the gunner shoots anything in sight. The Coyote can also be upgraded for commander with ECCM Suite 2, with the amply named Alpha Dog upgrade. Onward to priority level 9, the last one, you get Red Bull Mark II and Uhlan. Red Bull Mark II is the first of the tank strider made by Peace River, and as such, this thing is seeing its ages. Like the Mammoth, this thing has lumbering, making it very slow. However, it also has 12 armor, making it very well protected. For its weapons, it has a turreted anti-air medium rotary, a forward-mounted light rotary for anti-gear and infantry, and a massive turret on its back, containing either linked medium field gun, heavy anti-tank missile, or heavy field gun. Combine that with +1 gunnery and stabilizer, and the Red Bull Mark II can shoot really well. It also has anti-missile system to shoot down rockets and missiles, and recon sensor to detect enemy better. The medium rotary can also be switched out for 2 heavy artillery rockets, if you want to give the enemy ground force a good shaking. Lastly, there's the Uhlan. Because the Cataphract is just not big enough, the Uhlan is slower than the Cataphract but has 11 armor, and while it lacks shield, it has anti-missile system instead, which is arguably more useful. It also has advanced control system with +1 gunnery, but has brawler 1 instead of 2. However, that's mostly because Uhlan is designed to shoot the hell out of the enemies instead of trying to cleave them in half. In every variant, the Uhlan has linked medium autocannon for general defense, automatic light APGL and heavy frag grenade for anti-infantry, heavy spike gun for melee, and linked heavy rocket pack for more firepower. In its hand, it can wield an enlarged heavy autocannon with Apex and AP3, which is insane, or an Apex heavy grenade launcher, and Apex heavy pulse laser. Needless to say, the Uhlan can shoot really good. And if that's somehow not enough, the linked heavy rocket pack can be upgraded for linked medium tank gun, which is crazy, because a single medium tank gun is usually a main weapon for a heavy vehicle, and is most definitely not a side weapon, especially not 2 of them at once. The Uhlan can also be upgraded for commander with ECCM Suite for e-warfare protection. Needless to say, the Uhlan is probably the most powerful gear strider in existence as of now, though the Drake is still a close contender for how bloodthirsty it is.
Such a lust for revenge!
And that's basically it on the Peace River. They really do love their striders, and big blocky gears. Anyway, next one is gonna be someone really fast. That's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe and click that notification bell button. If you want to see the videos early as well as further support my channel, you can join in my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.